Hi there. In this lesson, we'll learn the basics of working with prefabs and how to create prefabs for coins and gates. I'll describe the concept of prefabs in a nutshell in case you're not familiar with it. And then we'll move on to Unity. In games, you often encounter recurring objects, identical coins fall out of chests, or identical bullets fly out of pistols. Enemies, weapons, health bars, various effects, trees, chairs, cars, and so on may repeat in the game many times. There are prefabs for working with recurring objects. Let's create prefabs from coins and gates. We meet these objects repeatedly in the game. I'll explain what the problem is again. If you have a number of coins in the scene and you change one of them, you'll have to change all of them. It's terribly inconvenient. You should have identical objects, so you need to select all of them and change them all at the same time, which may lead to confusion and generally takes a lot of time. To solve this issue, there are prefabs we can use to change all the objects simultaneously. How do you create a prefab? First, let's create a new folder in the Assets folder and call it Prefabs. Now choose a coin and drag it to Prefabs. That's it. We've created a prefab. Note that the coin is blue now. This means it's a prefab. It's now stored here in the project, and we can take it from here and drag it to the scene. We'll have all our prefabs here. They are objects we use to make up our scene, our level. It's better to delete all the other coins that are not prefabs to avoid confusion. Now we only have prefab instances in the scene. Let's see how it works. I'll have several coins here. Let's say 4. Let's move them closer to the camera to see them better like this. Now if I change one coin, let's make it smaller. All the other coins don't change. You need to go to the top level here and click Overrides. Apply all here at the top. This prefab section with buttons is available only for prefabs. For other objects, this area is empty. Click Apply All to apply all changes to all prefabs. What else can we change here? They cast shadows, for example. I don't want them to cast shadows. I disable shadows for one of them, then click Overrides, Apply All. Done. Now let's return them. The properties that you have changed in the prefab but haven't yet applied to all other prefabs are written in blue, like this. Or rather, this blue stripe appears here on the left, and the field becomes bold. See, it's bold and blue. This means that this field has been changed for the prefab. You can apply this field alone. Right-click and choose this option. Apply. This single field will be applied to all the prefabs. Another way to edit a prefab without pressing the Overrides and Apply buttons is accessing it right here in the project. Double-click the file to open a prefab in a separate window. This is the classic way to work with it. This way, you change the prefab. Also, when I change something here, you can see the change immediately applies to all the other objects in the scene. Let's make the collider a little smaller. I held Alt to make it smaller relative to its center. Okay, this will do. Now let's also make a prefab from the gate. They too will be more or less the same. Choose and drag it to the prefabs folder. Now they're also blue. Let's copy the gate. It's not a problem if you have prefabs in the scene that are different. We don't need these gates to be exactly the same. We want to change their values, like this. And when I change the value, the gate turns blue. Some other parameters also turn blue, because we changed the color of the images and other things. This is what really matters. In this case, we shouldn't click Apply All, because we don't want all the gates to have the value of -25. But if I want to change the parameters that are identical for all of them, such as the post width, I go to prefabs like this and change what I need. These changes will apply to all the gates. The parameters we didn't change will be the same for all the gates. But if we changed a parameter, and it became blue like this, it won't be updated and won't be the same for all the gates. Finally, I'd like to talk about the thing that all beginners definitely come across and that surprises them a little. Here it is. We have these prefabs in the project window. These files. They don't know anything about what is happening in the scene. They can't have any links to objects from the scene. Remember, as we collected coins, we wrote in the script that when a coin is collected, we go to onTrigger, find the coin manager, and add one coin to it? Maybe someone thought that we can add a link to the coin manager in the script. And just add it to this coins inspector. Like this. There's the link to the coin manager. Now a field will appear where we can add the coin manager. We have the coin, and we add the link to the coin manager here. It works. But if I try to apply these changes to the prefabs, it won't work. Apply all doesn't work because it thinks that nothing changed, so there's nothing to apply. This is because the coin manager is an object stored here in the scene, while the coin prefab is stored in the project. This is important. I can't take the coin manager and drag it here to the coin prefab. It might seem convenient if we refer to objects using the fields, but, unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. Therefore, we have to use the method when a coin appears in the scene, searches for the required component using find, and only after that, refers to it. Let's repeat the key points. Make all the recurring objects in the game prefabs. If you changed a prefab in the scene, click Apply All to save changes for all instances of this prefab. But the best way to change prefabs is by opening it from the Assets folder. Also, remember, you shouldn't add links to objects that are not in the prefab to the prefab fields.